Poor people should go to the branch. The main branch is for ladies like me, you know. I went to deposit $100 at the main branch of a major bank and was met with such verbal abuse. This bank employee, Dora, has harassed me several times before. I've tolerated it until now, but I've finally reached my limit and decided to give Dora a taste of her own medicine. My name is Maggie, 43 years old, living a busy life with my work. I've always been fascinated by machines since I was young. Studied in the engineering faculty at university, immersing myself in programming and robotics. The engineering faculty was overwhelmingly male-dominated, and being a woman in such a field was often seen as unusual. But I was so engrossed in my studies that it didn't bother me. After graduation, I joined a private company and have gained various experiences leading to where I am now. Currently, the company I work for is facing its biggest crisis ever, a severe labor shortage. Originally, we were a small team, never with much leeway, but business suddenly grew and we found ourselves drastically understaffed. Moreover, a key male employee who had been a pillar of the company resigned due to sudden illness. His departure was a significant blow as he was capable of handling a vast amount of work in a short time. We're urgently recruiting new talent, but we can't just hire anyone. We're conducting proper recruitment tests, so it will be a while before new forces join us. I keep telling myself to endure it until then, but everyone, including myself, is exhausted from the overtime work. I'm not as young as I used to be, and lately I've been feeling the strain. And amidst all this, I encountered an unbelievable person at the main branch of a major bank, a bank employee named Dora. I met Dora about a month ago, in April. I had business at the bank and stopped by the main branch. As I was walking to use the ATM, I accidentally bumped into Dora. It was just a light brush of arms, but I immediately apologized. "Are you okay? I'm sorry." But then Dora snapped.
Huh? You bump into me and then ask if I'm okay?
I admit I wasn't paying enough attention, but her response was so aggressive and rude, it was beyond belief.
Hey, isn't it normal to apologize when you've done something wrong? Come on, apologize,
Dora said arrogantly, crossing her arms and glaring at me. Even though I had apologized immediately after our slight collision, I was struck by the thought that her attitude towards a customer was just too terrible. Not wanting to make a scene, I apologized again. "I'm sorry for bumping into you." But Dora just sneered at me.
Wow, you really apologized. The poor people have no pride.
I was infuriated by her condescending attitude. Considering how she mocked a customer over a minor bump, I thought her behavior was far too inappropriate for a bank employee and was about to complain when Jeffrey, the manager of the main branch, appeared.
"Mrs. Fisher, did Dora do something to you?"
Jeffy asked. Dora looked annoyed at Jeffy's arrival, but I explained the situation anyway. Jeffy immediately apologized after hearing my side.
"I am terribly sorry for what happened. I will make sure to properly guide her. Dora, apologize now."
Despite her defiant attitude, Dora couldn't defy her manager and reluctantly apologized.
"I am very sorry,"
in a barely audible voice. It was clear she wasn't truly remorseful, which only fueled my anger further, but I decided to let it go since it all started from a trivial incident. However, the story didn't end there. A week later, I had to visit the bank's main branch again for a different business. Remembering Dora, I was filled with a desire not to meet her, but as soon as I entered, there she was. She hadn't forgotten me either.
It's that lady who bumped into me,"
she exclaimed rudely.
"Hey, I got scolded by Jeffy because of you. Take responsibility."
Responsibility? When you were also at fault? I thought as the situation turned troublesome again. Hearing Dora's loud voice, Jeffy appeared once more.
"I apologize again for my employee's rudeness. Dora, go over there,"
he said, sending her away. After finishing my business, I was curious about Dora, so I asked Jeffy, "Why does Dora behave so badly?"
That's a bit of a complicated issue,"
Jeffy explained, looking quite uncomfortable.
"Dora is the daughter of an executive from a company called AI Company. Since joining, she's been under the misconception that she's important, and despite our efforts to educate her, she hasn't changed much."
With that attitude, how did she even pass the recruitment exam? When I asked Jeffy for more details, his face fell with weariness.
"Actually, it's a classic case of nepotism. Dora's father knows someone in the upper management of our bank. The recruitment test was conducted, but it was just a formality. Her hiring was decided from the start.
So that's how it was. Jeffy also believes that Dora is not suitable to be a bank employee, but he can't fire her on his own due to the higher-ups' decisions. I learned further that Dora was academically competent but arrogant, looking down on her classmates throughout her school life. Attending prestigious private schools for both high school and college, her attitude never changed. After quitting her first job post-university and spending time idly, her parents decided to employ her at the bank. Dora, who has been overbearing since her student days, apparently lacks even basic manners.
Whenever she deals with customers, she almost always ends up upsetting them, and we can't trust her with any responsibility.
Jeffy, lamenting this, looked utterly exhausted. Having such a troublemaker around must be constantly worrying during work hours, and I shudder to think what it would be like if I had someone like that as a subordinate. But if Dora is connected to AI company, maybe I could fight back a little. With these thoughts, I left the bank. Then yesterday, Dora did something incredibly disrespectful to me. I had stopped at a cash-only eatery during lunch and needed to withdraw money from an ATM. I was so tired that I withdrew more than necessary. I realized this only after paying for my meal. Having lost $500 once when I was new to the workforce, I have since been reluctant to carry much cash. I wanted to redeposit the excess, but time constraints made it difficult. Later that afternoon, I had another errand at the bank, so I decided to deposit the money then. I dreaded encountering Dora again, but didn't want the hassle of making extra trips. Fortunately, Dora wasn't at the ATM, but it was unusually busy that day. The counter was free, and to my relief, Dora wasn't there either. As I was taking out my wallet, which contained $200 bills and a few tens, I usually carry between $100 and $150. Just as I was about to deposit a $100 bill,
Ah, what's this?
I heard a familiar mocking voice. I turned in shock to see Dora approaching, reeking of strong perfume and in a strangely cheerful mood.
Just came back from a long lunch, and look what I found.
Interesting stuff? Sensing the ominous atmosphere, other bank employees told Dora to leave, but she ignored them and shockingly tore my $100 bill to pieces. The onlookers were speechless at her outrageous behavior.
Hey, what are you doing?
Shocked, I yelled out, and Dora laughed crudely.
Depositing such a small amount in this prestigious bank, you must be kidding. Poor people should go to the branch. The main branch is for ladies like me, you know.
Hearing this, I reached my limit of tolerance. I no longer felt the need to hold back with such a person and resolved to give Dora a taste of her own medicine. Unaware of my thoughts, Dora continued to brag.
My dad is so important, you know. He's an executive at AI company, making parts for robots and stuff.
That's great, but can you call Jeffy for me? I have something to discuss with him.
Jeffy? This seems like it's going to be a hassle, but as a service, I'll call him.
Dora, looking displeased, called Jeffy. I explained the situation as calmly as possible, and though Jeffy looked like he was about to collapse, I firmly said, I'm closing my $8 million corporate account. My voice was lower than I expected, and my speech naturally slipped into a more casual tone. Despite trying to stay calm, I felt uncontrollable anger rising within me. Taken aback by my sudden decision, Jeffy stammered, What? I can't trust a bank with such rude employees. I'd be fine if you fired her, but that's impossible, right? So I'm closing my account. As I said this, Jeffy began to look frightened, but Dora was still laughing carelessly.
What's the big deal? It's just a torn $100 bill.
Jeffy, ignoring Dora's nonchalant attitude, Let's discuss this in the back, said in a trembling voice. Looking around, I noticed other customers staring at us with frozen expressions. Realizing we had caused a scene, I decided to follow Jeffy's suggestion to move the discussion. In the meeting room, Dora started belittling me again.
You came all the way to the main branch just to deposit a measly $100, right? Such a poor person doesn't belong here. I was just teaching you that.
I had a lot I wanted to say, but I decided to first address the treatment of money. No matter the amount, it's wrong to treat money carelessly, especially for a bank employee.
But it's also a banker's role to remind people of their place, don't you think? Ding, ding, ding.
Dora joked. At that moment, Jeffrey's anger finally exploded.
Enough! You tore someone's money and call it a warning? You are fired no matter what.
Oh, as if that's going to help. The higher-ups will scold you, won't they?
Dora, believing her father would protect her, maintained her smug expression. However, Jeffrey was not about to give up.
No, if Mrs. Fisher closes her $8 million corporate account, even the upper management will have no choice but to fire you.
Dora looked skeptical.
$8 million? Do you really have that kind of money?
Hearing this, Jeffrey sighed heavily.
When you joined this bank, I clearly explained that Mrs. Fisher is the CEO of the rapidly growing Super Robotech, and she holds an $8 million corporate account.
Huh? This person is a CEO? You're kidding, right?
Dora was shocked. It's true. I am the CEO of Super Robotech. Indeed, I am the CEO of Super Robotech, the company I founded after working in a private enterprise involved in robotics post-university. Initially, it was tough with just a few like-minded colleagues and tight finances, but we recently experienced rapid growth due to the success of our pet and caregiving robots. The media attention has been great, but it has made us extremely busy, and we are currently struggling with a shortage of staff. Ideally, I wouldn't even want to deal with someone like Dora. As I explained this to Dora, she seemed to realize that she had made a significant mistake and started to get flustered.
No way! So the $8 million corporate account isn't a lie? I'm so sorry!
You realize this now? And today, Mrs. Fisher came to consult about the account. The $100 was just an afterthought.
Jeffy shouted loudly. Even the usually brazen Dora was shaken and kept apologizing.
I'm sorry, I'm really sorry!
But
if you have $8 million, what does $100 matter?
That was her true feelings slipping out. Hearing this, my anger rose further. I would have been angry even if it was just $10. It's the act of looking down on others and mishandling money that infuriates me.
But you can easily make $100, right?
Instead of apologizing sincerely, Dora continued to provoke me. Do you realize how hard it is to earn $100? My company started very small, and there was a time when making $100 in sales was a struggle. Even though we are growing rapidly, we are not yet stable, so I am careful with money. As I forcefully made my point, Dora seemed overwhelmed and her face tightened.
Yes, money is important. I'm sorry.
But it was clear she was apologizing out of fear, not understanding. You've done things that are beyond a joke, so don't think a mere apology will suffice. Unless you're fired, I won't be satisfied.
You're seriously trying to get me fired? That's a bit much.
Dora's earlier bravado was nowhere to be seen. She started to panic, but I found her attitude somewhat amusing. You're an executive's daughter, right? Your family is wealthy, so even if you get fired, you shouldn't have financial troubles.
No, that's not it. I have my own issues.
Dora interrupted me, waving her hands frantically.
Actually, just this morning, Dad warned me about my attitude at the bank. He said if I cause any more problems, he'll kick me out of the house.
Actually, I felt I had to do something, so I contacted Dora's father,
Jeffy added. Dora glared at him as if to say he had done something unnecessary. Don't look at me like that. Haven't you always caused trouble for your parents since you were a child? This was bound to happen. Dora looked down as I spoke to her sternly.
Indeed, my parents have always been worried about my bad attitude, and I lied about becoming serious to get this job at the bank.
That's why you're being abandoned. I sighed. Suddenly, Dora's face lit up with an idea.
If Dad doesn't find out I'm fired, it'll be fine. So everyone, please stick to the same story.
I was appalled by her absurd suggestion.
I'll pay you if you help me,
she offered, thinking money could sway us. However, I wasn't protesting for money and wouldn't remain silent. Instead, I shared this with her. Your father's company, AI Company, does business with my company. I even had a recent opportunity to work with your father, so I've already reported your misconduct.
What?
Dora was stunned. Your actions are already well known. Why did you tear up the money, especially after your father's warning?
Well, I thought I'd get away with it. Just got carried away.
Dora struggled to find words. Suspecting she was hiding something, I moved closer and sniffed. The source of the peculiar smell became clear. Have you been drinking?
What?
Dora's voice pitched high, her shoulders trembling.
No way! I would never drink on the job.
Lying only worsens your impression, I warned. She finally admitted.
Yes, I drank at lunch. Dad threatened to throw me out, and I was under tremendous stress.
Drinking during work hours is unprofessional. Your unusual high spirits were due to alcohol, I see. I couldn't help but remark. Dora's face turned as if she was about to cry.
The alcohol has worn off. Please don't be so harsh. I only drank a little to relieve stress. I am remorseful.
Drinking at work is not acceptable, regardless of stress, I scolded. Dora felt silent, so I took the opportunity to insist on a proper apology. After all the trouble you've caused, shouldn't you apologize properly? You yourself said before, if you do something wrong, you should apologize.
You're right, Mrs. Fisher. Apologize sincerely from the bottom of your heart.
Encouraged by Jeffy, Dora apologized.
I'm truly sorry. I realize now that I went too far. I will properly compensate for the $100.
Her demeanor was genuinely humble, and her regret was evident. However, I had no intention of helping her. I will report your misconduct to the bank's upper management and strongly advocate for your dismissal. Be prepared for that. Even Dora seemed to understand that resisting further was futile.
Yes,
she nodded and then fell silent. Whatever lay ahead for her was not my concern. With these thoughts, I left the bank. Later, I learned from Jeffrey that Dora had been formally fired.
Other customers witnessed Dora tearing the money and filed numerous complaints. With the potential closure of Mrs. Fisher's corporate account, even the upper management couldn't protect her any longer.
Jeffy explained. But the story didn't end there. Someone had posted the scene of Dora tearing the money and hurling insults on social media, causing an uproar. Dora, already infamous among some customers for her bad reputation, had her full name quickly spread online. Her connection to AI company, where her father was an executive, was also uncovered, leading to numerous complaints to the company. A week later, Dora shockingly uploaded a rebuttal video on social media.
I've been kicked out of my house and lost my job. I'm too scared to go outside because of public scrutiny, making it impossible for me to look for work. How am I supposed to live in extreme poverty?
Her angry appeal to the public caused another blow-up on social media, and her address was identified from the scenery reflected in her window. But Dora, further angered by this in a video,
I've moved somewhere else,
she said. However, her new address was inadvertently revealed in the video, leading to further identification. Moreover, her act of tearing money was considered vandalism, resulting in a fine. Unable to pay due to her financial state, Dora had to accept alternative sentencing. Having become infamously known nationwide, her life would likely continue to be difficult even after completing the sentence. Meanwhile, I continue as CEO of Super Robotech. The staffing issue resolved with the arrival of competent applicants, reducing the workload on each employee and revitalizing the team. My own workload has eased, improving my efficiency and reaffirming the value of expanding the team. I'm committed to preventing severe staff shortages in the future. I didn't cancel the $8 million corporate account after receiving a formal apology from the bank. However, for easier fund management, I did transfer some money to another bank's corporate account, which was the original reason for my bank's visit that day. The bank, now free of Dora, has become a pleasant place to use again, and Jeffy seems happier too. The ordeal with Dora was challenging, but now that she's gone, I've decided to move on as quickly as possible. I'd rather focus on my passion for robotics and continue working hard for my employees and our beloved robot projects. Despite future challenges, as the CEO, I'm determined to persevere and stay involved in the robotics industry as long as possible. With these thoughts, I continue to dedicate myself to my work today